Hi guys, welcome back. Well, the 110cc scooter segment, which was very crowded in the past, is not like so right now. We still have some of the great options, but Yamaha has kinda left that space, and if you're looking for a 110cc classic scooter, well, two of the best right now is the Honda Activa 6G and the TVS Jupiter BS-6. But then from the two, which one is the right one for you? This video is for that, because it's the detailed comparison of the Honda Activa 6G and the TVS Jupiter BS-6. Well, like all our comparison videos, we have divided things into 5 categories, which are these, and by doing this, you can prioritize and finalize the right one for you. So without wasting any time, let's start things with the first factor, which is the design and the build quality. And here, as you can see, from a design point of view, well, both the scooters' outline looks very similar. They have that very classic approach with a clean front metal fender and a simple front fiber panel. Well, here the only subtle difference we can spot is the use of chrome in the front just in the Activa 6G, and with the Jupiter, they did opt to place the indicator in that position. And in the Activa, the indicator is placed beside the main headlight, which is located in the handle like the Jupiter, but then this light it can be LED or halogen based on the model in the Activa 6G, but with the Jupiter, it's LED in all the three main models. And you're talking about models, well, the Activa just has two variants, which are the standard and the deluxe, and in that the difference is just with the headlight. And yeah, about the headlight range and coverage, the Activa's Deluxe variant's range and coverage is on par with the Jupiter's headlight. And with the Jupiter, well, basically there are four models, which are the Classic, ZX, ZX Disc, and just the Jupiter variant. And in all these models, there are plenty of changes, with the Classic and the Jupiter variant having a fully analog meter, but then in the Classic variant, it gets a pillion handle with backrest, and also there is the adjustable windscreen. And in the video, the model showcased is the Jupiter ZX Disc, which is kinda like the best option. Then checking the handle, well, here in both scooters, there is good amount of switch controls, but the winner is the Activa 6G since it has the engine kill switch option, which is not present in the Jupiter, but then both the scooters does support silent start, so that's a plus. And about the other switch controls, well, both do get the dim, bright and pass light as a single switch, indicator toggle and also horn. But then this advantage with the Activa 6G shifts towards the Jupiter while checking the speedo console. Because with the Jupiter ZX variant, the speedo console is a digital analog meter, which is sadly just analog meter in both the variants of the Activa 6G. Then while checking the side portion, well, here both again shows their similarities. It's a clean, elegant panel in both the scooters with their respective branding, and here both the scooters panel is made of metal, so that's a plus. And actually the build quality of both these scooters are really good. Now these similarities is again noticeable from the rear section, because here both the scooters have that classic touch tail light, which are the indicator integrated type, and also just about that, there is the external fuel inlet, which in both the scooters are open from the ignition key slot. But then in the Jupiter, this type of system, which is the opening mechanism being in the ignition key slot, is only present in this variant, which we are showcasing here. And also one minor thing here to notice is that the Activa 6G system seems a bit more polished because of the dual layer setup. But then the Jupiter does have the advantage with the tank capacity, because the Jupiter's tank is 6 liter in capacity, while the Activa 6G's is the standard 5.3 liters. Then about the exhaust, both the scooters have the simple scooter type exhaust. And now to the important stuff with scooters, which is the storage spacing. And with that, well, the Jupiter does have the upper hand with better footboard spacing, a front utility box, and also a big 21 liter underseat spacing. So that's great, but in the Activa 6G also the same is good, because the underseat spacing like the Jupiter does take my large size fully covered helmet, and the footboard spacing is good too. Now this Jupiter ZX variant have this premium beige inner panel and dual tone seat, which is eye-catching than the simple plain black panel and seat in the Activa 6G, but in the long run, I think the better looking one will surely be the simple plain black one in the Activa 6G. And lastly, a couple of things where the Jupiter has the upper hand is the presence of alloy wheels in all variants, and also the mobile charging point availability in the Classic and the ZX variant. Well, after checking all these stuff in the design and build quality department, well, even though at core both are very classic style scooters, well, if you take a deeper look, there are a lot of changes which makes them different right from this first factor. So now let's check the second factor, which is the paper stuff, which is the specifications. We'll start with the engine specification, and here as you can see, both these scooters are powered by 110cc engines, which are fuel injected BS-6 standard ones, but then the Activa 60 does have a very slightly better max power and torque figures. But then with the main core body dimensions, well, they both are very close, with upper hand going to the Activa 60 in the ground clearance, which is at a massive 171 mm, which on the Jupiter is 150 mm. Then about the tires used, well, both the scooters get front and rear tubeless tires, which are 90 mm thick in both the scooters, But the Jupiter has the slight upper hand in the rear rim size, which is 12 inches, which on the Activa 60 is just 10 inches, and actually both the scooters' front rim is 12 inches. Then about the brakes, well, in the Activa 60, both the variants have 130 drum brake with CBS, which is combi braking system, and in the Jupiter, just in the variant we tested, the front brake is disc, but then in all the other variants, the front and rear is 130 drum, and it's also equipped with SBT, which is synchronous braking technology. And lastly about the suspension, well, in the Activa 60, the front is a telescopic suspension and the rear is a 3-step adjustable spring-loaded hydraulic one, while in the Jupiter, the front is telescopic, but the rear one is a 3-step adjustable coil spring one with hydraulic dampers. So that's everything about the specifications, and here there is a lot of similarities, but I always consider this just for a reference. And for me, the important thing is the road performance, which is the next factor, which is the ride quality and comfort. In that firstly with the Jupiter BS-6, well, this time this TVS engine felt to be the best refined and smooth one. It's not at all a powerhouse engine, but it does shine with the smoothness. Here the speed gain is very linear, and also the best ride experience was in the speed range from 0 to 70 km/h, because after that 70 mark the engine does show a bit of stress, even though vibrations only creep in after the 75 km/h mark. And with the Activa 60, the ride quality is kept to its best standards in the exact speed range, which is from 0 to 70 km/h. But then pushing beyond that also, the engine doesn't show that much of stress, and also the vibrations didn't show up till the 80 km/h mark. So that's a slightly better advantage with the Activa 60, but then this scooter is also having a linear speed gain trend, and this one, like the Jupiter, is also best suited for city use. Well, these scooters are designed like that, so there isn't anything to complain regarding this, and like all the other Honda engines, this Activa 60 engine is also a very smooth and refined one, but then with the smoothness thing, the Jupiter has the slight upper hand. But then with the ride comfort, well, here things do swing back and forth. The seating comfort to me was slightly better in the Activa 60, but then for the suspension softness, the one in the Jupiter BS-6 was the most soft set. But yeah, that said, both these scooters are really comfortable scooters where the seat used is good for the rider and the pillion in both the scooters, but then a slight upper hand felt to be with the more denser seat in the Activa 60. And here the Activa also does have the slight upper hand with the ride control. Now the ride control part here with both these scooters are not exceptional like the Dio, but still getting through traffic is easy, and in that the first spot is with the Activa 60. But that said, the safety side is better in the Jupiter SRX disc variant, because like its name, it's having a front disc brake, and hence while testing the panic braking, it could be done under the 65 km/h speed mark, which in the Activa 60 drops down to the 60 km/h mark. But here please note, the Jupiter variant I am talking about is the SRX disc variant, because with the rest of the variants, the brake option in the front and the back is drum, and hence the panic braking speed will not be this high. And also through rough patches, even though both the scooters underside was safe, well, the advantageous one is surely the Activa 60 with its better clearance. So that's everything about the ride quality and comfort thing with both these scooters, and yet things are very close, which is the same with the next factor too, which is the mileage. Because here during our testing, the mileage of both these scooters were almost identical. It's like the Activa 60 got an approx value of 59 km/L, and the Jupiter was getting an approx value of 60 km/L. Now this one number difference is not very accountable, and hence I would love to call this factor a tie. But as always, please note this is the mileage we got, and for you mileage might be different because mileage totally depends on riding conditions and riding pattern. And now to the last factor, which is the pricing. And here in this factor, as you can see with the ex-showroom Kerala pricing, the Activa 60 is the cheapest scooter of the two if we consider the top variants, but with the base variant, the Jupiter has the lower price tag, but usually everyone will be checking the better equipped variant, and here while comparing that, the price gap between the Jupiter and the Activa 60 is approximately 4,000 Indian rupees. So with this, I guess we have covered everything for this comparison. And after checking all this, both these scooters are very close in most of the things. But then there are differences too, so what I would suggest is to tally stuff, and whichever scooter takes the most for you should be your pick. Here the Activa 60 has the upper hand with the lower price tag, slightly better performance, better seating comfort, better underside safety, and it's a more easy to control scooter along with the advantageous features like a engine kill switch, double protection external fuel inlet system, and also gets Honda's reliable enhanced smart power technology. And the Jupiter on the other hand has a butter smooth engine with more convenience in the storage department, and also the braking is slightly more better in the SRX disc variant, and some features like the mobile charging socket, alloy wheels and slightly larger tank are plus points too. So from these two scooters, which one is your pick? Please leave that in the comment section below, and if you like this video, a like is much appreciated and a sub to the channel will be awesome. See you again in the next one. Till then, bye, and always ride safe.